Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are back on F1 22 as always, and we are back with some league racing action for round 9 of the BRS season at Imola. And yeah, coming into this race, Imola, I'd probably say alongside Monaco, has been one of my worst tracks for raw pace, so wasn't coming in with a lot of confidence here. But FRA Elite is not actually racing in this. He decided to race in another league, and you'll see by this clip here that ended quite nicely for him. So without him here, this is another opportunity to get back in the championship, and I will certainly be taking it all day. But we do have the likes of WR Smokey, who is, I'd probably say, in the top 3 on Xbox on the game. So he is a very strong challenger himself, seems to be taking part in every race recently as well, so he's definitely someone I need to start outscoring. But of course, this is a really big opportunity to get back in this championship after missing a couple of races myself. And yeah, quite recently I've discussed where I've been having a bit of a struggle with this game, especially since the recent patches. I even feel, as recent as last week, I feel like the handling has actually changed again in some way in terms of the force feedback or the traction. I don't know if that is just me going crazy or not. Please let me know if anything has changed for you. But yeah, at the start of this game I really did enjoy it, and I felt it suited me very well, but it just kind of goes against my driving style, the way the handling currently is. And you can see we are using the higher gears, so 5th gear through turn 1, so it is still a work in progress, and I have been preparing quite a lot and really practicing quite hard to adapt myself even more to the game. So no matter your experience or how good you were in the past or anything at all, you can always make improvements. And I just think now that there are new drivers on this game, such as Smokey Elite, where this game's driving style definitely seems to suit them, and the competition is getting stronger. Even seen that in F1 Esports with Jan Otmir, having definitely a lot more competition this year, where I think the game doesn't particularly suit him either. As you come across the line, we do a 14.7, which I was actually very satisfied with. I was quite content with that, and both the qualifying and the race pace, I've been putting a lot more time in, and slowly but surely we are getting closer to the likes of an Elite and Smokey, who are exceptionally good drivers in my opinion. So we're going to start on the hard tyre here. Really, pole position is quite an awkward place to start because your car's angled in a very weird way. So we've got 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and as they go out now, trying to get a good start. So decided really just to completely mirror the strategy of Smokey here, and doing a little bit of dummy T inside, but not really an overtaking place. And what you're going to see in this first stint is me just driving really almost to my limit. I felt like I was driving quite well. Definitely drove better in the second half of the race, but certainly not bad by all means. But yeah, Smokey was just so fast, and particularly in a straight line. I think lower downforce does reward you a bit more on this game now. And I went with a little bit of a higher downforce, hoping that the tyre wear would swing the balance back into my favour the longer the race went on. So that was kind of the thinking, as I wasn't very confident of getting pole position around here. And I was actually quite surprised I managed to get P2 as well. And that was almost my PB with that 14.7 there. And what you're about to see in this first stint is Smokey just being absolutely rapid, and I felt like my pace was really good as well. If you compare it to the rest of the field of Goxie, Andre, Dizzy, Mark Sosa, a lot of other very fast drivers in here, James B 2004, incredibly fast drivers who have all had top 10s in time trials quite often. I felt like my pace was really good against them, so just without Elite and Smokey and maybe a couple of others, then I think we'd be pretty dominant in this league. But no, the talent just improves year on year, and sometimes the game doesn't always suit you. So I'm always just trying to improve myself, and when people tell me that I need to work on things, then I just use it as motivation. And I always just want to get better in every single way. Because like I said, even the likes of Jana Watmere, Brendan Lee winning esports for the first 2 times, you can't always be at the top of the hill. Sometimes people will take your place now and again, and you just got to accept that and kind of humble yourself a little bit. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. So I'm very determined to get back on the top step, and the practice has been paying off, but just still need to find that little bit more. As you can see, Smokey setting the fastest lap, and we've already broken out the DRS zone of Goxie and the pack behind. And as this race went on, I was pretty much just trying to hang on to Smokey as much as I could. And we were quite good through this first sector, because that's where the downforce definitely is the most beneficial, as it was in qualifying. We had a really good sector 3 in qualifying, a purple sector 3 by almost a 10th. But it's in this first sector and sector 2 where the lower wings of Smokey, he can just still carry that momentum through the corners, and you're about to see in a straight line. We've got the DRS here, and you can see we're only closing maybe like a 10th with the DRS, and that's not good enough. And since he's running the lower wings as well, he is going to be able to save a bit more ERS, as high downforce does force the engine to work a little bit harder than it needs to. So I was pretty confident that we had less ERS than him, despite having the DRS, because like in F1 Esports, the DRS and slipstream is not really that powerful in this game. So in 2021, if I was in this position now, I'd probably have about 80% ERS, because it was so powerful. But now, there isn't so much of a luxury being in the DRS. You need to be a bit closer than this, and you can see we get our first track invalidation. And as we look at the Delta, so we've got the DRS again, but we're very low on the battery, so using everything we can. So look at the Delta, it's actually going up in a straight line. So he is absolutely rapid in a straight line, and I think I knew at this point that he was probably going to break the DRS, and I'm going to have to cut my losses. And you can see in 9 laps he pulled 4 seconds away from the field behind. So I felt my individual pace was good. Just Smokey just had that 10th or 2, and you can see with the Delta again in a straight line, just even on this little straight, the time gain is absolutely nuts. And yeah, I knew that I had to kind of back off now, try and recoup a bit of the battery. Since FRA Elite is not here, I can't afford to be really losing second place. But we did dig in, so we didn't let it off easy. I was still pushing as hard as I could, and you can see we've actually managed to gain back a bit of time, because I used a bit of ERS on the previous lap. So I'm just trying to put him underneath as much pressure as I can, so not giving up until the very end, because you never know what can happen. But yeah, his pace, especially in a straight line, was just a bit too much. As we come to lap 17, most of the guys behind have actually pitted for the medium tyres now, and the gap is now 2.4 seconds, as Smokey now does decide to pit. And one thing we did have is that we had a set of fresh softs, because I only did 3 runs in the qualifying. So I decided to go quite deep into the race. You can see he's 22 seconds behind. It's about 26 seconds for a pit stop. So right now I'd be coming out about 3.3 seconds behind with only 3 lap fresher tyres, which isn't going to make a significant difference. So I decided to do something quite bold, as we get our second track invalidation here. I decided to go quite long into this race, and I was just kind of hoping for a safety car, because if a safety car comes out any point from now, then that is going to be absolutely perfect for me, because we've had a safety car every single race this season, and the pace is still quite good, but you can see our tyres were kind of getting to that critical point. So although the pace is good, the tyres might decide to puncture themselves. So the gap is now 19.4 seconds. So we're probably going to come out around 7 to 8 seconds behind. And yeah, the gamble didn't pay off, because I felt if I had just had 2 or 3 lap fresher mediums, then I felt his pace was still really good, that it wouldn't have really made that much of a difference, and I don't think we could have closed in. So I thought, let's just do something different, to be honest. Hope for a safety car and, you know, see what happens with this. And I knew that I would still come out ahead of the battle for P3, as you can see that train coming down the main straight here. So we've got out just ahead of that, and now we are on the fresh soft. So 7.9, so 8 seconds behind, pretty much as we predicted. So we're going to see what we can do here, and if a safety car does come out now, then that would very much help us as well. So coming through last corner, starting lap 24, this is actually the fastest lap that I did in the race, and you can see, since we were running a little bit of those higher wings, it was still very hard to recoup the battery. So just making sure that I definitely get second place here, because I didn't want to put myself really too much at risk, as Andre behind does have a 3-second time penalty. So let's see how much we gain in this lap. So it's 7.5 seconds going through this first sector. We don't do a purple first sector because we didn't use that much of the ERS, but really going through sector 2 and 3, this is where we should be making up quite a bit of the time. So gap has now gone down pretty much half a second just in those sequence of corners coming up through the hill. It's definitely a lot easier on this game, on 2021. If you hit the curb on the inside, it would give you a bit of an auto spin, and making sure we don't get a penalty as well, because the last thing we need is to get a 3-second penalty and then make a mistake and allowing the guys behind to be within 3 seconds. And now coming through into this section, not going to be quite close enough to get the DRS from Snipes SB. And overall in this lap, I'd say we probably gained over a second. So 16.6 is the fastest lap we've done. And yeah, the problem with softs in this game is that it does go off fairly quickly, but our pace is still consistent, and we were still closing in around about 4 to 5 tenths a lap on WR Smokey. So I was still giving it absolutely everything, just in case he made a mistake or got a 3-second penalty. You can see it another half a second on this lap, and I was actually quite surprised that the softs were holding up this well despite the tyre wear. So I felt definitely in the second half of the race we did drive a lot better, but I think if we did go on the mediums, yes, maybe could have come out closer and maybe caught him at the end, but I think with the pace and the undercut he had, I don't think it personally would have been enough. So yeah, decided to go a bit different with this strategy, and the gap is now down to 4.9 seconds, and in the end you can see we've got quite a big gap to everyone behind. So I think myself and James B were the only people who did the hard to soft strategy. He goes ahead and wins the race, but we come home in P2, which does give me the championship lead by 3 points, and no, I will take that all day, because we have some tracks coming up. Silverstone coming up this weekend, this Saturday, probably my best track on the game, and I'm still working very hard to improve myself in the qualifying the race, which I think we definitely did do here. So definitely getting closer to what we need. But yeah, I will keep on going. I will keep on pushing as hard as I can. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this. A relatively short one because of kind of the lack of action. But yeah, if you're ever kind of stuck in a rut, always know that you can always improve things. So thank you so much, and I'll be catching you very, very soon. Peace.